Greetings, folks, and welcome to today's show. Our guest today is the Reverend Tom Murdock, who is pastor of the First Baptist Church in Tullahoma.
First Christian Church.
First Baptist, did I say? Wow. That was a slip. The First Christian Church. And they have a couple of special things that are taking place over there, a couple of special programs and some building work, which should be of special community interest, I think. So I thought we'd talk some about those. But let's talk, Tom, give the folks a little bit of your background.
Well, maybe this will be our helpful thing. I was Baptist for a long time. Grew up Baptist,
okay.
But I have been part of the Christian Church Disciples of Christ for about 20 years, and have been in Tennessee for almost 22 years now, and have lived all across the state, and have been here in Tullahoma now for May will be 7 years, and it's just amazing how quickly it's passed by.
Yeah, it is. 7 years.
But we love this area. My wife's a math professor at MTSU and has been doing that for almost 5 years, and she loves being there. Good. So it's a good community to be a part of. Good.
Well, that seems to be working out okay. You grew up in Florida, as I recall, right?
I grew up in Pensacola, Florida.
And where was your undergrad work?
I finished at the University of West Florida, which is in Pensacola. It's a growing school there, and did my seminary degree was at the Southern Baptist Seminary in Louisville, Kentucky.
Okay. All right. Very good. Well, with that, folks, let's take a short commercial break, and we'll find out what's going on at First Christian.
The highest standard of trust offers a sense of safety and comfort. It's established over time. You know when you see it. You know when you feel it. There's a standard of trust in healthcare. It's the Joint Commission Gold Seal of Approval. In 2003, Life Care Center of Tullahoma voluntarily achieved this accreditation and maintains it still today. Life Care, meeting a higher standard because residents matter most.
This is J.D. Oliver here at the Smokehouse on Monteagle Mountain. My sisters Betsy, Nancy, and I'd like to thank you for supporting our family business for over 50 years.
Hello, this is Stella Parton, and I am standing here right in the middle of Jim Oliver's Smokehouse restaurant. But you need to come in here. We just got through doing a show. We also have a music scene going on here, and I want to invite you to come down because it is your mountain destination. Music on the Mountain in Monteagle, Tennessee.
My name's Betsy Oliver. I'm the kitchen manager here. We serve a lot of ribs and barbecue and fried chicken.
Hey, this is Sean Mayer, and I just want to let everybody know to stop in at the Smokehouse if you're ever on your way to Chattanooga or Nashville. They not only have a great gift shop, awesome food, great entertainment on Saturday nights, but beautiful cabins to stay in. Check it out.
Make the Smokehouse your mountain getaway destination. Stay in one of our 84 lodge rooms and 20 timber frame log cabins. Look around our trading posts and eat in our delicious restaurant. Enjoy music on the mountain every Saturday night featuring the best of Nashville. Our family hopes to see you this year at Jim Oliver Smokehouse.
We're talking today with Reverend Tom Murdock of the First Christian Church in Tullahoma, where they have a couple of special things going on that are of general interest. And so let's begin. You've had a little construction project going on. You have on the back of the property that the church owns an old building which is of some historical interest. Tell us about that.
It is. It's the old post office, as people refer to it often as, is the building that the church has owned for a number of years, and located back. We've had the parking lot space between there, and for a long time the church has not really known what to do with that building. It's a nice sized building, but it was just kind of in disrepair, has been for some time. Most people have noticed that. We know it too. Yeah. The church has had an issue for a long time of doubling up spaces inside of our main building, needing to create more space, and every time we started to make plans for that, adding on to the building, whatever we needed to do, what always kept coming up is we had a building. and it was already there. And until we knew for sure whether that building was usable, whether it needed to be torn down, whatever needed to be done, we needed to make a decision about it.
Yeah, I recall that it pretty well came down to that. The building was finally was in such condition that you either should demolish it or renovate it. It's
Right.
time to make a decision.
We've actually made a video, and it'll be interesting. Sometime we have a upcoming open house. We'll talk about it a little bit more in a minute. But in doing some videotaping before, we showed what it did look like. And of course, it was leaking through the roof, and there were windows broken, and it was just in a state where it either needed to be renovated or demolished.
Right.
But as we looked at the building, it was very apparent. Amy Cates, who's our other pastor of the church, and others who went through the building, there was that difference of opinion. But the big thing is we started to look at it in a different way, that it had potential that we really had not noticed before. It's about 8,800 square feet. It's a large space, and the building is solid. We've been real grateful for that with all the storms around. We've thought several times about going just to hide there.
That'd make a good storm shelter. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah.
But it is a beautiful. It's a building. We began to have a vision of what it could look like, and the church decided about 2 years ago almost that that's how we would proceed, and we began to get plans for it, and have just recently finished the construction of it. And the primary purpose of doing this building, 1925 building, it is that it was a building that had unique features to it. One of it is that loading dock on the back. We have just kind of fallen in love with it. Putting fans up on the back so it could be used potentially just middle of summer, somebody wants to come sit outside and have lunch. Or if we wanted to invite a group to come and sing and do a concert on the back, we can remove the rails and people can sit out there on the...
Becomes a stage.
Yeah. And we just began to see all these possibilities with that building, adding something to our present space would not have done. And it's turned out I think even better than we actually imagined, even seeing the plans. Joan Bentley had made the initial plans for it, design, and we were pleased with what it looked like, but we never imagined that some of the rooms turned out to be the size they are. Even knowing the dimensions, it just looked so much bigger and better than we thought.
Well, let's talk a little about that. What have you got in the building now, and what are you going to use it for?
Currently, what we've done is all the office space that was in the main building has been moved into the annex, as we refer to it as, along with our food pantry, the Salvation Army that meets a couple of times a month for distribution of funds to those who are in need, and that meets there. Also, the Red Cross, eventually we're trying to transition them into that space also. They've been meeting in the main building once a month, the blood drive. We already have groups who have been meeting at the church, who are meeting in the building. We've recently, our Diversity on Race group has been meeting in that building. We're trying to make that the weekday ministry of the church.
Right.
And that way we can close down the other building most of the time. But then the potential is for us to expand into ministries for the community, which has always been where the heart of the church is. We are in that downtown location because we want to be at the center of the church, of the community. And our desire has always been to do all we can to open our doors and into the community. So we're looking to have some new ministries, new unique opportunities to present.
Yeah, I remember you were talking about using the dock in the back. We did a couple of times. We had in the summer we'd have ice cream and music, and invite the whole community. I think we could. I could see us establishing something permanent there, more or less permanent, regular at any rate, and would be a pretty good program that the whole community could take part in. The building, I think we said was 1925 or so,
Right.
and was there interest in town? Is it considered of some historical significance?
Not as much historical. I will say it that way. We have looked into that. It was, on the one hand, From an architectural standpoint, it was one of those rubber-stamped kind of architects. Somebody in Washington's name is on it who approved all the buildings. But the other side of that is, emotionally, it's an important part of this community. Everybody remembers coming into the post office. They have stories. We have people every day who come by, and they tell us stories not just about getting mail, but about the people they would meet, the whittlers who sit out on the outside under the tree. Just the stories of people who would come over there to sit and talk. It was a meeting place in the community. And that, to me, is one of those things that you can't recall in just the architectural terms, but you can the emotional value of a community. And
well, I've always thought it was interesting from an architectural standpoint. You know, maybe not Frank Lloyd Wright, but there was a, and I don't know if I can recall it, there was a design concept in use about that time, which came on through the Depression years, and which is that building seems to be patterned after at any rate. So, well, all right. Well, then let's talk a little bit more. Then you've got several meeting rooms that are smaller. You have the all-purpose room, you call it.
Well, we're coming up with a good name for that, as you and I talked about.
And then several meeting rooms.
Right.
And you have, are you going to have the accommodations? At one time you were discussing having the accommodations for some mission group that was coming through that needed a place to stay while they were en route.
Yeah, several things that came up early on when we discussed this was a need for having showers available in the bathrooms, the men's bathroom, women's bathroom. They're handicap accessible because we have had in the past, and have had even since we've opened up the building, groups coming in who stayed the night and who needed a place to shower and change. So that's always been a part of the plan because we've experienced that ourselves, going on mission trips to other parts of the country, staying at a church overnight. Just to have a shower was one of the best things after a day of travel. Yeah. And so that was part of the plan.
And a place to sleep.
And a place to sleep. And also it goes back to the ice storm back in the 90s when in the community a lot of people were without power for some time, but downtown there was still power, and there were some people who came to stay at the church. And so in our back of our mind has always been the possibility that if there was an emergency, that could be used that way as a place for somebody to come, for families to gather until there is power restored, until there's possibility.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier that the I don't know if there's any way for us to describe it, but the building was really solid. I mean, it's built to last. As we said, it's been there since 1925. Obviously, there's something pretty good about it, but it is very substantial. I don't know if we could qualify it as a hurricane or a tornado place, but the interesting, it's a tough old building. I would guess I'd rather be there than in most other places around town.
Right. Well, it has the old vault from the old post office is still there. So if anything else,
is it downstairs?
It is on the main floor, but it's still located. It's located in the offices, and it's just we decided to keep that old vault just for a place to store papers and things like that. But it's actually just for me, it's a nice place to have solid concrete walls all the way around and top and bottom. It's not going anywhere.
Well, okay. So, how many folks can you get in there?
I don't know. We haven't tried that yet.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, with that, folks, let's take a short commercial break, and we'll come back and change the subject.
Hi, Grandma. It's Jake. I'm calling to tell you I love you more than anything in the whole wide world, even ice cream. I love you more than spaghetti and meatballs. I love you more than snakes and monkeys and sharks and whales and praying mantises. Bye, Grandma. Love you.
Let it all in with Charter Phone, including unlimited local and long-distance calls.
We're back, folks, and we're talking today with Reverend Tom Murdock, who is the minister at First Christian Church in Tullahoma. They've just completed the remodeling of what was the old post office, and it is now in general use. And I'm not sure we mentioned you're going to have a public open house so that people can come and see what you've done. And that's scheduled when?
That's the Sunday, March 25th, the last Sunday of the month.
March 25th, last Sunday of the month.
2 to 5 o'clock, 2 in the afternoon to 5 o'clock.
That's a Sunday afternoon.
Sunday afternoon, and we've been asked for several months, when can you come and see it? That's when we're opening up our doors to the whole community, just to come, have an open house, walk through. Few refreshments, but just a chance to see it, because we're proud of it. We want the community to be a part of that.
Very good.
So we want everybody to come show us.
So you're invited to come to the party, folks. 2 to 5 on March the 25th, Sunday afternoon. All right, let's switch tunes a minute. Okay. You have had a kind of a unique program going on over there for something better than 2 years, I think. It originally started out as a dialogue on race, and had a number of activities connected with that, and but it seems to be evolving. But let's go back to the beginning. Talk a little about that, what we were doing, and how well it worked, and how we did it, and things like that. And
you and I had this conversation a couple of years ago, and it started with yourself and Frida Lusk and myself on just talking about a need for a dialogue on issues of race in our community. And that's where we began. And we decided the best way of doing it is inviting people to join us in that dialogue. And we've had a number of people during the 2 years who've met with us regularly at the church. Usually about once a month we get together on a Saturday morning, and we initiated several forums, invited guests to come in to speak, and we've kind of been slowly moving our ground through the conversation of what it means to be in dialogue. We're not always sure what that means yet, but we're having good conversations in the community. We've tried to reach out into different aspects of Tullahoma and Coffee County, and how we can better our relationships. Now we're kind of moving into different areas. We've invited last year a little subgroup of this started a camp for middle schoolers, and we called it Camp Diversity, and they had a weekend retreat that was really well received. The kids who went, the adults who were there, just came back glowing about the interaction that they had, what they learned, and just the experience overall. And so they're planning a second one for the end of April, and we're looking forward to how that goes as well. Okay, now who's that open to? Who are you trying to get? It is middle schoolers. It is an intentional camp on diversity, so we're trying to make sure that it has a very equal racial makeup. To try to make the interactions racial, ethnic, religious, whatever background. And they have made. I know that they are beginning that some of the applications are going into the various middle schools here, trying to engage some of the students. They're already getting some of the participants from last year asking when it is. So I know they're going to have a good response. But that's where they'll go. They will contact the different middle schools. They have flyers. I think they're presenting very soon for that. Well, that's not. That isn't really restricted to Tullahoma, is it? If there's some kids from surrounding towns that. At least as long as you have space. As long as we have space, I think that's a good way to put it. I think the intention has always been, we've started in Tullahoma, but we're never trying to exclude it to only Tullahoma. I think we would like to be able to expand out to the broader community. But that's where we've begun, is because this is where we live and this is where we work, most of the people in the group. Although we have people who come down from Swanee to be a part of it, in Manchester and Shelbyville. So we want to expand out to the whole broader area around here. In the broadest sense, what are you trying to accomplish with that? One of the things that's been, I think, part of my life for a long time is I grew up in a high school that was racially mixed. It was evenly mixed. and very diverse community. And so for me, it was always important that you have the interactions and dialogues with other people, regardless of race and religion, whatever the backgrounds that often divide people. And one of the things we've noticed over the years, it used to be such a outward discussion of race and how we get along, that now it's kind of gone underground, and there still are issues that we have to deal with, and discrimination. And so it's one of the conversations has been, how do we bring this back up in a way that we can honestly talk with one another, of different races, different backgrounds? How can we have these conversations that better and strengthens our community as a whole, to engage a whole broad group of people in leadership in the various parts of Tullahoma, Coffee County, and beyond?
Yeah, well, we continue to have social problems that there's nobody particularly geared to deal with. We've had occasionally still have a marginal outbreak somewhere. They're still a small group attacking Jews,
right,
or other races, either one. And more recently, we have been having Tullahoma doesn't have a large Muslim population, but we've all seen the troubles in Murfreesboro and Nashville, and so I gather what you're really trying to do is to get these various groups to come together and get familiar with each other, and conclude that nobody's wearing horns, and that we really can and should get along if we can just begin to understand each other.
Right. Yeah, and and I think that was probably one of the initial questions, that maybe it was you who asked it originally, is when we sit down, it's a dialogue. It's not agreeing about what we believe is going on around us. It's an actual conversation with one another, hearing the other person. And it's in hearing somebody else who may have a different background, different perspective. You may disagree completely with them, but at least if you can sit down and talk, we can learn a little bit more about each other. We can learn to respect each other. And those are the things that helps us as a community grow stronger and more vital. And Tullahoma is a diverse place.
Yeah, it is. And you're also trying to create a situation where they also coming out of this should be some sort of a mechanism for dealing with these kinds of issues. And we've talked about the application of this idea, and one of the more recent things that came up was dealing with issues in the school itself, and trying to get the school system involved. So I think there's some work going on there to try to get this idea and plant it in the school system, because they still have racial issues. And more recently, one of our, I don't know if it's more recently, it's getting more publicity, is the difficulty with bullying. And we've seen that, well, of course, and that also brings up the gay issue and how that's to be dealt with. And so I think the hope is that we can build a kind of understanding that this particular approach can be used to deal with things like that. We might hope that would help reduce bullying in the school system, for example.
We have learned to fear people that we don't understand. We don't understand their backgrounds. They don't understand where their perspective at all. Whether it's in gay, lesbian, whether it's in racial context, we are uncomfortable with people who are other than ourselves. And that otherness is something that once you get in conversation, you learn that there's really not a lot of differences there after all, that we have a lot more in common. And that in our perspective as a person of faith, as a pastor, it is we look to people that God has created, and how do we have a conversation with other children of God? And it can be hard and frightening at first to take that first step.
They're all created equal.
That's right. And then when you have the conversation, you come to learn, God does speak to us, and that God speaks to the people who maybe they have a different perspective, and maybe they have a different conclusion of things. But yet at the same time, we still can experience God's presence, and we can also talk about how we are children of God, and we have a responsibility to this community together.
Okay, well, it looks like we're going to begin to run out of time. So we'll take a short commercial break, folks, and we'll come back and wrap up.
I'm Lori Thompson.
And I'm Mike Thompson, and we own Thompson Ford in Tullahoma, Tennessee. Lori and I bought the dealership back. It's on Highway 55. Same dealership that we had for 10 years. Look forward to serving you for another 10. Thank you to the community. Thank you for allowing us to be here for the last 15 years. Thank you for having us raise our family here.
Thank you for all your support.
It's been a great place. It's a great place to live. Look forward to living here. Put me in the ground here. I'd be proud to do it. God bless America and God bless Tennessee.
You'll never guess what happened today.
What?
You want to see? They found a giant squid in New Zealand, bigger than this whole bedroom. Bigger than Mommy's minivan. Pounds. Isn't that amazing? And its eyeball, big as a basketball.
Let it all in with Charter Internet and get the fastest, most reliable internet speeds.
We're back, folks, and we've been talking today with the Reverend Tom Murdoch of First Christian Church and some of the special things going on there. Tom, you want to try to issue your invitation again and mention a couple of things coming up that are significant that we'd like to involve more in the community in?
Again, want to invite everyone on March 25th from 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock to come and see the restoration of the old post office, the First Christian Church Annex. This is something we would love for everyone to come and see. And doors will be open that afternoon, and just feel free to come by and walk through and see what's been done. Also want to continue the invitation that not just for our middle schoolers at the end of April as the applications for the Camp Diversity goes out, but in May 19th, we're also going to talk with adults and invite them to be a part of a diversity program. We didn't really talk about that. I'm sure they'll come up later in another program, but we want to invite you also. That's an opportunity that's coming up. Several community churches have been a part of this, and others outside of the community, from Mount Zion and King's Cross and the Unitarian congregation here. All have been a part, and as well as some in between, and no congregation they're a part of, but they are a part of this group. And we're trying to create a diverse group.
Okay. Very good.
Thank you.
Well, Tom, I want to thank you for taking time to join us, and thank you, folks, for inviting us into your parlor. And these are a couple of interesting events. You'll hear more about them as the time gets closer, and we hope you will take part. So thanks for joining us and inviting us into your parlor, and we'll see you next time.